Welcome everyone, this is Mondan Raghavan, and this video we are going to see the CSS selectors basics. So this is one of the common CSS selectors which can be used in Playwright, Selenium or any UI automation tool. So let's find out what is CSS initially. CSS is something like a cascading style sheet which will be used along with HTML and JS. So generally if you go to any website, you will be having the different skeleton. The skeleton will be created by using the HTML, whereas if you mouse over or if you want to do some action, there will be different actions oriented, let's say events that can be handled by the JavaScript, whereas the coloring and styling part will be taken care by the CSS sheet or cascading style sheet. So generally what we will do is like we will be having the styling and there will be some common, let's say the generic way of making the styling across all the areas. Let's say, for example, all of the font size, I want to make it in a different way and in a different color. So I will not apply the styling each and every block. I will be just giving the class name for all the areas which I want to apply the common styling part. Then in CSS area, I will be applying by using the class name. So it's like you are clubbing all the elements which has to be clubbed for the common styling. Then you will give the class name by using the class name. For the class name, you will give the styling part. So this is in the development perspective. But let's say in automation, in testing perspective, you are going to use this tag name or ID or class name for your uniquely identifying the element inside the website. In CSS, you can simply understand the basics in a very simple way. Like a ID, class, tag name, and attribute value contains prefix and suffix. Even you can see some symbols like ID can be represented with the hash symbol, whereas class will be represented with the dot, and contains will be the asterisk symbol, prefix will be the caret, and suffix will be the dollar. And we will clearly understand what is tag name, what is attribute, and what is value. So let's take some common element. Let's say this is a common element which we took from the Amazon. Let's say I'm just right click and let's say inspect. And here right click, you can use the copy and copy element. Let's say I'm just going to the end and putting one more time so that you can see clearly. Right, let's say wherever you find the angle bracket, so after that whatever you see are HTML tags that will be considered as the tag. So now in our case, let's make it a simple way. Okay, this is a total element. Just put it into the next line so that we can clearly understand. So here input is the tag name. And remaining all are like a attribute and value. For example, if we take this line, type is the attribute and text is the value. Right? In let's say, for example, if you take the ID equal to 2 tab search text box, then ID is the attribute and 2 tab search text box is the value. In generally, we will use ID and class name directly as the ID and class names, whereas other values we will mention like an attribute. For example, I will use ID is equal to this one and class is equal to this value. And here you can see you have multiple values separated by the spaces. That means that a class can have multiple values so that you can separate those things using the spaces. But in selector perspective, you can use any one of that. It's okay. So remaining all things we will consider as an attribute. For example, tab index is the attribute and value is 0. Okay, fine. So this is the basic about the different tag name, attribute, and value. Now coming back to the actual things. Now contains. So wherever you want to contains, for example, some places you will be having the substring inside the search area or inside the value of the any attribute. And prefix is something like ID 123, ID 145, ID 167. So every time it changes, but the front part of the value will not change always. So that will be the case where you will use the prefix. And suffix is someplace like the end part will not change constant and the previous part will keep on changing. So those scenarios you will be using the suffix, which is the dollar symbol. Now, what are the different ways we can create the CSS styling? So let's go into the different segments that we have seen. We have seen the tag name. So always tag is optional, but still we can use tag also. Here you can see tag followed by the ID. So that means that whenever you mention the ID, the symbol should be used as hash symbol. And whenever you mention the class value, you will be using the dot in front of that. And whenever you are giving the attribute, you will be using the square brackets just before and after, and you will be giving the attribute name and its value. Now, if the value has some prefix content and you want to mention only the prefix area or prefix value, then you will mention the caret symbol, whereas suffix, you will mention the dollar symbol. And if it is having the substring and you are mentioning only the substring, then you will mention the asterisk symbol. So this is like a general syntax. On your right hand side, you can see some of the real examples that we have taken already. For example, you will take this one. So let's go into the same segment here. Let's make it very clear to you. So just right click, again inspect, and here you can see. Before writing this one, you will just understand everything clearly from this example. Okay, this is the one, just make it a little broader. Okay, Control F. So whenever you want to make some changes, you need to make some Control F. Otherwise, you will be mistakenly writing into the filter area. Right? So let's take one by one. So here you can see now here ID is there. So obviously you are going to use the ID, right? Before that optional one, but still in these examples, we will use the tag name also. Now you know that input is the tag name. Let's say input. Now here you can see as soon as I type the input, as per the current CSS selector, it's changing everything. So you will not lose the, you actually lost the place where you have taken the locators elements, right? So further what I will do is like in the starting, I will put some dummy character so that it will not match with anything, then we can use freely. Let's say now input is the tag name and ID I'm going to use, which is the value of 2-tab search text box. So you know that we need to use the hash symbol before the ID. Now syntactically tag name, hash symbol, and we are using the ID value. Just remove this extra things. And here you can see it is highlighting. And the main thing is like it should be showing 1 of 1. So that means that uniquely we are finding this one. Next one, since we are going to use the class, obviously. So before that, I will just explain one more time. The class can have multiple values separated by the spaces. We can use any one of that. So let's say I'm taking this value. Or in this, you are seeing something. Yes, it's the same thing, right? Okay, fine. So now tag name is the same. Before that, I will just mention some dummy character so that it will not change anything. So input, class name we are going to mention. So dot and then class name. Now home, delete. Now here you can see 5 element is matching. So even though it's finding multiple elements. So in that case, you need to find some other locator, or in case, let's say your intention itself to find multiple elements or the common elements by using the class. Like developers, how they will style it. In the same way, you want to find the multiple list items by using the common selector. That time you can use the class. And next variety is something like tag name dot class and attribute and value. It's not like mandatory. Even you can use the ID also, hash ID, then attribute equal to value. So let's try in the same way. Already we have that input and then dot and the class name. Now I'm going to add some more things. So before that, again, as usual, so hyphen symbols, again, right click, inspect. Now I'm going to use some other attributes. You know that even though ID and let's say class name is the attribute, still we can use it represent with the dot and hash symbols, whereas let's say other attributes cannot be used with other symbols. So that's the reason. Now we need to use the square brackets here because it's a normal attribute. Let's say I'm going to use something different now. Area label is equal to search, right? So let's take this and put it into the square bracket. And that's all. Now we will remove the extra characters in the start. Now here you can see it's finding uniquely the element. In simple, we have mentioned the tag name and we have mentioned the attribute in the square brackets and we have given the value for that. So the next same goes to with the ID also. For example, now I'm going to not repeat because we have seen tag name with the ID and we have seen the only tag name, attribute and value. Now we are going to combine input followed by the hash followed by the ID, then square brackets. We are giving the same attribute and value that we used already. Let's try this and it's working fine or not. Yes, here you can see 1 of 1. It's highlighting the same thing. Now comes into the different area. Let's say we are going to use the prefix. So first of all, there are some scenarios you will be using the prefix so that you can find that element uniquely at the same time dynamically, which means that every time something getting changed in the end part. Let's take the example. Let's say I'm planning for camera now for this, or let's say this one also we can find it. Let's take this example and understand clearly what it is. So let's say here you can see A is the tag name, as you know that, and the dot, it represents the class. So H menu item is the class. And inside the square brackets, I'm mentioning some value. This is the attribute name, data hyphen ref hyphen tag. And I'm mentioning only nav underscore em. That means that if I mention the caret symbol, it's going to start, the value of the given attribute is going to start with navigation underscore em. Let's see how it works and what are the values it's being given. Enter here, you can see what are the different values. Here you can see it is giving nav underscore em underscore 1117. So that means that it is a changing value. However, it starts with navigation underscore em. Let's go into the next one. Now here you can see it will be some different value 8, it's with 8. But however, we are matching only in the starting part nav underscore em for the attribute name tag, data hyphen ref hyphen tag. The same way you can see the different values so that you can see all the menu items, right? For example, I am just checking here. Now, if I click here, let's click here and just look it here. You can see all the items has been found out. So here you can see, since we are going to the header menu item, and every item will have its unique number at the end. It can be 1, 2, 3. It's a sequential number some cases. But I want to get all the header menu items. So that time I can be using this kind of locator where it starts with navigation em and ends with a different line item. So that let's say my example, let's say my intention is to find out all the home menu items one by one. I need to make sure it matches with the existing list. So those kind of scenarios you will be using the caret symbol or prefix. Now let's go to the substring. Let's say, for example, I'm going to search for camera and headsets for this. Let's close this. Enter. Now it's giving the different cameras, right? So, but I want to get something. Let's say I'm just going to mention here Amazon choice. So you know that there are some places, let's say some of the things will have the Amazon choice by default. So it looks like it's a choice from Amazon. I want to see only the Amazon choice and its name. So in that scenario, I can use kind of something like this. So first of all, we will understand this. Let's say I will just remove all the things. Span is the tag name, and here you can see in the square brackets I am giving some attribute followed by the value. If I mention the asterisk symbol, that means that for the given ID value, the Amazon choice can be anywhere. It can be in the start, it can be in the middle, or it can be at the end. So that's what it meant. And after that, I am giving another attribute and value also. Whenever you add another attribute and value in the CSS, again, you will be adding one more square brackets. So that's the reason another attribute is tab index and its value is 0. So let's take this and go and check it. Here you can see. So actually span, yes, it's matching, and ID. ID you can see in some places it is having the B0, B51, some unique ID for the image. And after that it is having Amazon choice, right? Same way I will just go here and here is some other product. Again, some other product. So it's keep on going. So that means that wherever it finds the Amazon choice as a substring, it start using that one. So you might wonder like it is on the end. Let's see, I'm just making only Amazon CHO. Still it finds it because it is in the middle of that. It contains that substring. So that's the reason we are using the substring or asterisk symbol. So there are some scenarios where you will have the substring in middle somewhere. You cannot identify or you cannot judge before only. So in those scenarios, you will be using the contains or let's say substring. Now next scenario will be like a suffix. Let's take this example and again understand clearly here. Here span is the tag name and we are giving the attribute. So attribute, since it's attribute, we are giving inside the square brackets. Then I am mentioning the attribute name as ID and values festival. But however, it ends with festival, so I am just giving the dollar symbol. So let's try. Let's say you are having a different festivals. Let's say Independence Day festival and let's say Great Indian Festival. There are a lot of festivals. So I am not sure on any scenario. I need to use that locator. No matter which festival it is, I need to get the festival related, let's say the tags or the elements. For example, now it is showing ID as a Great Indian Festival. Tomorrow it can be like an Independence Festival, or sometime after it can be a Pongal Festival or Diwali Festival or Christmas, right? Or let's say any other festival. So in that scenario, you will be using the ends with. So that means the previous part, Great Indian or Diwali or Pongal or let's say any Xmas or anything, you will be using some other value, but it always ends with festival. So in those scenarios, you will be using the ends with or dollar symbol so that you can get easily things. So wherever you find some ID with ends with festival, you will be getting all those elements. So after getting these elements, you can create the locators. By using the locators, you can select it. You can just extract the text content, or you can do some, let's say, UI actions like a click, dragging, or adding to the cart. So whatever you want to do based on the functionality. So or let's say based on the business need, you can do the different things. Now let's come into the final one. So now we have seen the different CSS selectors. It is only the segment, or let's say it is only considering the CSS as alone. But this CSS has so many other varieties, such as like previously we have seen the text selector. We can combine text selector plus CSS. At the same time, in CSS itself, we have some pseudo classes like a visible hash text, a lot of other pseudo classes, right? So those classes also can be used. But as a basic CSS selector, we can just summarize like a hash dot hashtag symbol, caret symbol, and dollar symbol, which is nothing but ID, class, contains, prefix, and suffix. And we can make the different, let's say attribute and value by making the different square brackets. For example, if you have multiple attribute and value, you will be separating with the multiple square brackets. And we have seen that there is possibility that even a class can have multiple values separated by the spaces. So this is the basic understanding about the CSS selectors. So this way we have understood what are the basic CSS symbols like a hash symbol, dot symbol, and so on. In next videos, we will see further CSS selectors with a combination of other things. So thanks for watching and have a great day.